Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we are painting the third page in the Plants and Flowers watercolor coloring book. It's a book that I hand make myself from scratch, basically. And let's start painting. This is the third page, and it's basically just a potted croton plant. And there's going to be a lot of green in this one. As always, have a scrap piece of paper if you can. It's always helpful. It doesn't even have to be watercolor. It's just it helps getting some of the excess paint on and gauging some of your colors. And then porcelain plate. It doesn't have to be porcelain, just something nice and slick that can easily be washed. This is just a soap dish that I got from like Walmart or something. And jar of water on the side, your brush, obviously, a little rag always helps because you can kind of dry off your brush in it. And then if you don't have one of these spray bottles, just use your brush, but I always recommend wetting your paints first. It just makes them so much easier to work with. I just use this because it's quicker. Otherwise, just wetting your brush and putting the water right on the paint works just as easily. And the very first thing that we will be doing with this one is we'll get some yellow. Get a good amount of yellow. This, usually I do a lighter first color, like flat wash. This one I'm going to bring out a lot of the yellow. The reason being is I want it to stand out because the piece itself is mostly green, so the parts that we will put yellow on, this will help them kind of pop a little more. And so crotons are very interesting plants, and they're actually kind of fun to paint, especially if you do like a larger piece or like a more detailed piece, just because there's so much in them and the variety of color is pretty large. But basically what we'll do is, and honestly you don't even worry about being extremely detailed, you can be a little sloppy if you want to, but basically first we're going to put a little yellow right there, and put some yellow right here, a little bit right here, down here, some more on this one, and then right here on this one, and let's see, also this one right here, we'll add that, some right here, get a little more color. Up here we're going to do a lot on this one, kind of like that, and maybe some down here. We're basically highlighting some of the edges. Crotons have very interesting color patterns, and this one in particular, the one that I was using as reference, had a good amount of color highlights almost on the tip of the leaves. It looked very interesting, almost kind of sci-fi-ish, honestly. Some croton plants remind me of some of the greenery you might find on that planet, on Avatar, on that sci-fi movie. They're just very, very pretty to look at. Okay, and that, maybe a little bit down here. And keep in mind, you don't have to use the exact same leaves that I do. You can totally play around. You don't even have to use the same colors. You just play around if you want to. And this is just how I'm coloring it. Now then, I'm going to grab a bunch of green. There's a lot of green in this piece. I'm just gonna grab a bunch of green. And I'm gonna dilute it a bit. So up here, I'm just gonna go ahead and fill it in, and don't be shy about, like, it doesn't, again, normally I start off a little lighter, but I want the colors to be strong in this one. And up here, but actually, you know what, adding a little bit of variability in the colors, specifically in a large plant like that has a lot of curves and shades, you can actually just rinse off your brush, dry off some of the brush, and then just kind of pick off some of the color. It'll make it look more interesting. It's kind of like giving it texture. Grab that, and then add a little bit right here. I'll leave that tip white for now, and then down here leave that part white. And you can tell as I'm laying down the initial wash of green, I'm not trying to be particularly careful. Put a little bit right here, like that. Grab a little more green. The bottom one, like that. Maybe this one right here. And this one up here. Like that. And I am leaving some of the edges white, just because we will be going back in and adding a different color other than yellow. All that, cover that in, cover this in, this one, this one right here. Feel free to kind of blend in with the yellow, with the edge of the yellow. Maybe even overlapping it a little bit. Does not have to be perfect. Back here, we're going to cover all of this, and you can use a little bit of a darker green. We are going to add much darker shades in the background here. So when you layer on the darker colors, it helps really create that sense of depth and shadow. Because if you just layer lighter colors, you'll still eventually get to you'll still block out the white of the paper at some point, but it won't look as nice of a contrast as if you were to just use much stronger tones to begin with. Okay, kind of filling that in. There we go. Gonna leave a little bit of a white edge there, and same for this one, a little bit of a white edge on this leaf, and this one down here we're just gonna cover it completely, and that. Same here. With this one, just like the last one, we're pretending that the light source is coming directly from the top, maybe a little bit of an angle from the left. Okay, put that in here like that. Put that in here. And this one. Maybe a couple of dots here and there. You know how croton plants are kind of spotted at some places? They have just the most interesting textures. I highly recommend you look up some of the pictures online, or if you have some at home, just take a good look at them. They are excellent subject matter for painting. There's just so much to them. And get some in here, like that. Maybe a couple of lines, some dots. And then here, like that. Maybe dilute the color a little bit. I don't want it to be too strong. Right now, anyway. Like that. Put that, like that. A little bit here, underneath, and over here as well, like that, and back here, all of this, and all of this. I'm actually gonna rinse, or actually just gonna wet my brush slightly and just give a little bit of a lighter yellow here. And the reason being is we will get, when we're adding shadows, it'll help us establish textures better in the leaf itself. Put a little bit here and over here. Okay. It's looking good so far. And for the pot that they're sitting in, I'm just gonna go ahead and just grab some light blue. I'm just gonna dilute it a bunch. I don't want it to be very vibrant. I'm just going for the base flat wash, which is, you know, just what the rest of it will be built on top of. So we don't want this one to stand out too much. We just want it to be kind of like a light blue. Yeah, we can work with that. Okay, just gonna go ahead and it's just a flat wash. We're not even like worried about, we're not doing any texture, no shadows, just the flat wash, just establishing the base color of the pot. Just get it all in there. All right, that's perfect. We'll rinse off our brush. And then I'm just gonna grab another one of my little soap dishes here, just so I have more space for mixing. These are great, by the way. They're very cheap. You can get a ton of them. If you go to like any home goods store, they'll have them. Honestly, I think any store actually might have them. Any store that has like a bath section, I guess. Or a kitchen section. Either one. Okay, so now we're just gonna grab some orange, and this orange, just like the other highlights that we put in, we want it to stand out a little more. So we're not just doing a base flat wash, we're kind of using it to emphasize some of the colors and textures. Actually, I might need a little more. Like, we want it to pop, like we want it to stand out. Maybe a couple of dots here. Go like that, that's good, there we go. There, maybe tip over here like that, maybe a couple of dots, and a little bit down here like that. That's good. A little bit up here like that, and you can overlap some of the green. Feel free to let the colors blend in if they want to. A little bit like that, maybe some speckles here. Over here. That. There we go. And then a couple of speckles down here. And over here a little bit. Go like that. And up here, down here, okay, over here on this edge. And again, you could probably tell I'm not being extremely careful here. I'm just kind of adding, because, you know, organic texture in nature, when you look at it, there's a bit of a chaos to it, especially at a glance. And when you emphasize the chaos as you're painting, it just gives it more character. Granted, you can totally just sit there and do everything perfectly if you want to. I just like the energy of the feel of how it looks like if it's a little more loose, if it's not perfect. Okay, and next we will go ahead and grab some of the purple. If you don't have any of these colors in the palette that you're using, if you're not using my palette, just obviously orange is just red and yellow. Purple is just blue and red. Or you could just use completely different colors. Okay. Just outlining this leaf, and then just maybe a couple of dots here. Doesn't have to be perfect, like that. And then this leaf over here, a little bit like that. And maybe a little bit over here, kind of like that. And let's see. I kind of try to move the colors around. You don't want to have the colors just concentrated on one spot or just two spots. You always want to have at least 3 spots just kind of throughout the painting. It just gives a better aesthetic feel, better color composition. Okay. And the purple also helps emphasize some of the yellow highlights since they're complementary colors. Just a little bit there. Let's see. Where else? We don't want too much. Maybe just a little bit right here. Like that. Maybe a little bit up here, just a little bit over the green, so when it dries it actually won't stand out that much, but you'll get a hint of it. Okay, and maybe a little bit in this leaf like that, a little bit like that. And also a little bit over here. And just a little bit. There we go. Kind of like that. That's good. I'll rinse off my brush. Plants and flowers are so unassuming because they're just kind of like... There's something pretty to look at like on the side, but sometimes if I'm hiking, I'll stop and I'll look at a flower, like a wild flower or a wild plant. And they're so interesting to look at. There's just so much information there. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my yellow. Kind of got some of my blue in the yellow here. Clean that out. Okay. But honestly, I think that may be the case with anything, because I've noticed that if I stop and really look at anything or try to paint it, you can kind of see the beauty in pretty much anything. I think that's a quote from Matisse, that if you really want to understand the beauty of the world, is like you have to try to artistically capture some portion of it. Anyway. So we're just getting the yellow. I was gonna add more orange or purple in the white spots that you see throughout, but I don't want them to become overpowering, so I'm just gonna throw in the yellow in there. Also, yellow looks really, really good next to green. It's a very they're not complementary, but they do help each other out though. Here we go. A little bit down here. See, the purple next to the yellow just looks really nice. Really, the odd man out here, as far as in terms of colors, would probably be the purple. Or I'm sorry, not the purple, the orange. Just because of how much it stands out. If we had used red, I think it would have been too much. It would have just been too distracting. Okay. There we go. And while all of those parts are drying, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of brown and I'm just gonna dilute it with some water. I don't want it to be too strong. Let's see. That's probably good. I'm just gonna add a suggestion of a ground or a floor or a table, just like we did with the last one. And when you press against the paper and just kind of drag it out quickly, it gives you those rippled brush strokes that can give texture and look very interesting. I'm gonna rinse my brush. And then we're gonna focus on getting some darker greens. So we already did one layer of green. We're gonna do two more. The first one is just going to be the same color, but we're going to add a lot more pigment. So just making it more intense. And then on the third layer, that's when we'll add either some purple or brown or both to get a really dark tone of green. Just kind of push it really into to give more definition and depth. Because right now everything's kind of seems almost like on the same level, but when you add the shadows, you can really see some of the leaves move towards the front and some go towards the back. It's I love adding shadows to paintings. They add a lot of dimension. Okay, we're just gonna go down here a little bit like that. And then on this one, like that. Maybe a little bit on the leaves. Like the little veins that kind of run through the leaves, maybe just add a little bit of an emphasis on those. Kind of like that. Maybe down here, a little bit like that. And obviously there's shadow underneath that leaf, so we'll do that. And over here in that little space, and then maybe a little bit of outline on some of the texture in the leaf. And then like that. Just some small strokes there. Over here like that. Feel free to step back at any point if you want to just look at how it's developing. This one's in the back, so we're going to add a lot more of the darker green. I'm going to emphasize the texture and then probably leave it like that. And same over here. Going like that. Get some more green. And just go in there. You see how when we add that dark green around this leaf, it immediately comes more towards the front? It immediately pops. And then we'll add just a little bit of texture here. Like that. And back here maybe, yeah, I think I'm just going to cover that. There's a leaf back here, but I think it just looks better when this one is more emphasized. So add a little bit of, just a couple of strokes here, just like that. And same with this one down here, like that. Okay. And then this one back here, have a lot more shadow on it. Feel free to kind of clear off your brush if you have too much paint. Okay. Also, maybe add a little underneath here, like that. Underneath this one, over here, some texture. Also here, just a couple of strokes like that, like that. There we go. And then down here, like that. So this leaf would be casting a shadow onto this leaf. So that's what we're painting in now. That's good. And same with this leaf. The one above it would be casting a shadow. So maybe we'll just put that on like that. There we go. Get some more green. Okay. Under here. And then under here. Some texture in the leaf. Okay. That. And so far so good. I'm actually really happy with how this is looking so far. Good color, good texture, good shadows, or at least we're developing the shadows now, so that's good. Okay, and then maybe this one, darken it up a little bit, just to show that there's depth and difference from the one above it. And then also down here, just a little bit, not too much. And, oh, and last one over here, because this leaf up here is casting a shadow down here. So we're just gonna go like that. And then maybe just a couple of small strokes for the texture. I think that's good. And this one, maybe just a little bit for the texture, just to show that it's not just flat, so that's good. Oh, almost forgot these up here. Yeah, we do need to show a little bit of their texture as well. Just up here. That. And same here. And maybe just a couple of quick strokes over here, and that's it for that part of it. We're not done yet, although we're close to it. Oh, you know, I realized I think I left this one just completely white over here, so I'm just gonna go quick. There we go. And same over here. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now, while all of those are drying, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of the blue, or the light blue. Just a little bit. I don't need too much. That's probably too much. Maybe dilute it a little bit. Uh-oh. I don't want the brown getting into it. Okay, there we go. So with this, I'm basically just gonna add some, basically just shading and texture to the pot. So you can see this is the light initial layer and then see how the stark difference between the two of them. So the idea is that we're going to use that difference in shadow to show the texture, or the difference in opacity, I should say, because there's a lot more pigment in this one. So first I'm going to just completely cover this side right here like this. Stop right about there to show that there's light coming this way. And then we're going to use the same color to show the shadow of the leaf over here, kind of falling down like this, and maybe a little bit over here from this leaf. And then we can show some of the creases in the pot. So here, like that, like that. And it's just a little bit. They're just small marks. They don't have to cover too much. You're almost just like outlining the black arches that are in there, just to show that there is actual depth. There's actual shadow because some of the arches are raised. Okay, and we might actually add a little more over here just to darken it up some more. There we go. And you can add second or third layers in some of the places that there's shadow. And if you avoid doing it for all of it, it'll add more variety, more dimension. Let's see, I'm just going to step back a moment. Yeah, that looks pretty good. We're close to being done. Now we just have to focus on making the really dark portions of the green. So we're gonna grab some more of the green. Some more of the brown. I'm just gonna see, that gives you like a nice dark green, kind of like a brown green, very earthy. I'm gonna grab more green, but I'm also going to grab a little bit of purple and a little more. I really want to really darken this. If you don't have purple and you don't feel like mixing it just so you can get to this color, you can also just use some dark blue. That's totally fine. Okay, now let me just test it a little bit. Yeah, that's a good dark color. I'm just gonna start adding it in places that recede into the plant, and really try to emphasize the dark points where there's shadow, where light can't really get to that well. So maybe down here a little bit. Back here. It's okay if you cover up entire segments of leaves, because that's what would actually happen in real life. Especially the further away you are from it, the harder it would be to see those details in the dark parts, the parts that are covered in shadow. And you can also outline some of the textures with the same shadow color, just because it'll help emphasize the grooves. Okay, like that. And maybe a little bit over here, just to show the distinction. Maybe show some of those grooves in the texture. Now back here, you definitely want to cover all of this. See, there's a leaf back here that we colored in completely previously, and now I'm just leaving it just to show that it's almost like background, middle ground, foreground. Like there's layers of light. Okay. Gonna color all those in. Down here even. That's coming along really nicely. I'm gonna add a little bit over here, just kind of some of the grooves, maybe just a little bit. Kind of like that. Over here. Like that. Maybe some texture. Definitely back here, because there's a lot of leaves and they're all kind of converging at one point. So just to emphasize where the dark spots would be. Like that. And over here a little bit as well. And under here. Like that. Also under here, maybe some emphasis here, a little bit here, just to show. There we go, underneath this flower, maybe more dark, like that. And maybe just a little bit up here. And up here. So I think that looks good. Honestly, I was thinking about adding some black outline like how we did for the previous one. But the shadows that we just added give it enough depth where I'm pretty happy with it. Let me step back a moment. Yeah, I'd say we're done. I think that looks great. Okay, so that was pretty much it for that one. That was the third page of the Plants and Flowers book. So if you have any questions about any techniques or color mixing, anything like that, just leave it in the comments. I may even do a separate video to answer any questions, or like a short video. And yeah, please feel free to tag me. I love seeing what people do. Other than that, I will see you next time.